Lebanon is pretty tough. Beach, they've got a pretty good little running
Yeah,
back.
the Parks kid.
Yeah, he'll do really well. I don't know anything about
Okay.
Columbia.
Okay.
No,
Noblesville. Okay. Marshall County, Springfield.
Springfield, we
You
scrimmaged
scrimmage
them.
them.
I don't.
Beat them pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't
And
even.
One, two, three. Test one, two, three.
Test one, two, three. Test one, two. One, two, three. I can't
Yeah.
count.
Maplewood. I mean, he graduated. Hi, everyone. Tom Kreager with the Tennessean. Welcome to another show of The Bootleg, presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. It's mid-season report time, folks. Yes, 5 weeks are in. We are at the midway point of the regular season, of the 2019 regular season. I'm joined by East Nashville football coach Brian Waite. Brian, thanks for joining us on The Bootleg.
Thanks for having me.
Wow, we're gonna give you a quick overview of what we're going to talk about. But then, of course, we'll go back to Coach Waite here. East Nashville 5-0, big game. Our game of the week. They traveled to BGA, which is 4-1. Great non-region game. That'll be our game of the week. We're going to talk about last week's game of the week, the Battle of the Woods. Brentwood winning 25-14 in a thrilling physical contest there at Brentwood. It's midseason report, so I'm going to give you 3 hot takes. Looking at the second half of the season, kind of give you that's a little bit of a tease, I guess, for our mid-season report that will run online Thursday, and then we'll go through all the top 10 games of the week 6 of the season. Coach Waite, 5-0. That's really not new for this program. I mean, you went 8-0. You won your first 8 games last season. But here's the part that really impresses me: the fact that out of 5 wins, 4 of them by shutout.
Yeah.
How do you start the season with 4 shutouts?
Well, first off, I have to give all the credit to my defensive staff.
Mm-hmm.
We've been playing complementary football, and my defensive staff, they work tirelessly. That's Coach Corey Davis, Ron Howell, and Kelsey Fordham.
Mm-hmm.
Man, those guys doing a tremendous job, working well together,
Mm-hmm.
really motivating the kids, and just really believing in the system and believing in the product that they put out on the field on Friday nights.
Including in those shutouts, where you opened the season with a shutout over Smyrna, and I've got a lot of Rutherford County ties. Everyone knows that, but to beat that, I think it's like 42-0 or something like that. To win that convincingly and to shut out a Smyrna football program, and we all know what kind of history they have. That was a heck of a way to start the 2019 season.
Yeah, I was very proud of my guys, the way they responded and the way we came out against Smyrna. My hat is off to Coach Williams and his
Mm-hmm.
program. Very historic program, traditional program. They do a great job down there, great resources and so forth. I just thought my kids really were hungry.
Mm-hmm.
They were really ready to get after something. We hadn't played any games up to that point,
Mm-hmm.
and they really played really well together for it to be our first outing. But they surprised me as well.
Mm-hmm.
That 42-0 really
Mm-hmm.
surprised me.
Now you're a 3A program. They're a 6A program. This is the first year of a 2-year contract. Why would you want to open the season with a 6A program? What was the what was dangling the carrot? What was the carrot dangler to play a team like that to open off the season?
Well, to be honest, it's more about the gate than anything.
Okay, okay. So next year you'll be there.
Right. And,
Yeah.
Well,
You'll be. You'll come to you next year.
Right. And but we experienced that with Rutherford County.
Yeah, with Riverdale. Yep.
The past 2 years, I had a great experience with those two with that series.
Mm-hmm.
And, Smyrna was looking for a week one.
Mm-hmm.
We were having trouble finding a week one. I reached out to Coach Williams. He
Mm-hmm.
was he said yes,
Mm-hmm.
and man, the rest is history. But you really want to challenge your kids
Mm-hmm.
and challenge your program, and we thought Smyrna would be a great challenge for us.
So much success, but yet you had the success last year. Like I said, you won your first 8 games last year. What do you take from last year's success into this year to say, hey guys, there's a lot of football to be played. There's a lot of tough teams left on your schedule. If you want to get to your goals, there's a lot more football to be played. What do you tell your team so they don't get the cliches? They don't get the big head. How do you keep them focused at 5-0? Say, hey, that's great, but we need to get to 6-0 and 7-0, etc.
Well, I'm glad you asked that. Last year we learned a lot about our team.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest. Last year's team played with a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of things that happened off the field that were against us. The odds were stacked against us, and I thought they really responded well considering the circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And despite what all happened off the field, we were able to come together and win some games. Well, we had the early out in the playoffs, in the second round of the playoffs, and that was very disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
We thought last year was going to be a special year, and it was. 10-2 is not something to just shy away from or to throw away. But I think we've grown as a program, and to understand that we may be 5-0. Yes, we are undefeated. Yes, we have 4 shutouts, but not to be satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
And I really take that seriously, and the kids have really responded well to that. And we understand. I would much rather win 15 games by 1 point than to win 10 games by 40 points. So I think we've kind of grown in that area, and my hat is off to my administration too. They've been really supportive throughout this process.
Speaking of hat being off, y'all got a present from the Titans. Talk about that, and I mean, what does that mean for you and your program? I know we talked a little bit. This is a game changer for your program with where you guys are financially.
Yes, absolutely. Let me kind of clarify too before I begin.
Yeah,
the $10,000 was the equipment. The money, the check that we received was to pay for the equipment, and so the Tennessee Titans Foundation was looking for a program, and they kind of heard about our situation for our equipment. And when our program started, let me kind of give you a backstory. Our program began in 2008. It was before my time.
Coach Spears, I think, started that back, right?
Bubba Spears.
Yep.
Shout out to Coach Bubba Spears.
Yeah.
He did a great job beginning the program, starting the program. Well, we ran into a major crisis. We had about 50 helmets that were declassified. They were thrown out, and so we couldn't
be refurbished again. They were done.
They were done. Matter of fact, I still have some of the shells in my locker room if you want one. At any rate, long story short, so we ended up spending a lot of money last year on about 40 helmets, and we were short. And I guess the good fairy above heard us, and we were blessed with the opportunity to receive some new equipment. We needed the shoulder pads, we needed the helmets, and you want your kids in the top of the line equipment.
Yeah, from a safety standpoint, and just you want them to look good too. I mean, let's be honest.
Absolutely. And you know what?
Yeah.
I get asked all the time. The kids ask me, Coach, when can we get one of those flexes? And I'm like, son, I'm sorry, we just can't afford it right now.
So we talked a little bit about the defense. We talked about your defensive staff. Give me some of the key defensive guys that have really shown out, that have been key to this 5-0 start with all the four shutouts.
Oh man, this is kind of an unfair question. all 11 of those guys
Okay.
are great. But I'll give you a couple.
Give me 3 or 4.
All right.
And guys, you're all loved by Coach, but we're going to talk about 3 or 4.
I'll have to start off with this young man, number 7, Bronson Harden.
Mm-hmm.
I think as he goes, the defense goes.
Mm-hmm.
He plays with such a passion and a fury for the game. Bronson, when he's not there, he's definitely missed. Next, I would have to talk about Tyler Fletcher.
And Harden's got like about 2 or 3 interceptions, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He has an interception for a touchdown this year, and a fumble recovery for a touchdown.
Okay.
So very productive on the defensive side. But as he goes, that defense goes. Next up is Tyler Fletcher. 6'3", 205-pound linebacker. Teams are running away from him now. They find out where he is and they try to run away from him, but we still catch up with him. So,
and committed to Western Michigan. Yep.
Western Michigan commit. Still receiving some interest from some local schools. I still feel like his ceiling is mid-major Power 5.
Yeah.
But Tyler Fletcher's done an outstanding job. In my secondary, who can I not name? We have Yukari Blanchard, 4-year player for us, 3-year starter that plays corner for us. We have Trey Shaw, man, outstanding athlete, probably one of my better guys. Great hips, long range reach. Rashawn Richardson, who had to sit out last year. Unfortunately, he's an East Nashville Eagle from 5th grade to now, but had to sit out last year. He's really playing with a passion and a vigor. There are so many guys. And up front, we have Cam Rogers. I feel like he kind of goes under the radar, but Cam Rogers is a big presence in the middle of our defense up front. So, I'll be remiss if I don't mention Strawn Johnson. He had a pick 6 last week against Whites Creek. It was beautiful, man. I was so happy for him.
BGA, we know what they're going to present with you guys. 4-1. They got beat by CPA. They're going to throw the football. They've got one of the best passing quarterbacks in the area, and Nick Semptenfelder had a rough week last week, but you got to think they're going to be trying to get him back on track. You've got a couple FBS commitments, or 3 FBS commitments in over there with a couple of our Danny Dozen guys, and Antonio Stevens going to Purdue, and Garnett Hollis going to Northwestern. And then you got Briston Bennett going to Charlotte. So they got a lot of talent on offense. What's the challenge from a defensive standpoint to slow that passing attack?
The biggest thing is remaining consistent in your eye discipline. Make sure you playing your assignment and playing your alignment correctly. Those guys are very talented. I mean, they've got great size, great ball skills, speedy. There are some speedy guys. So just really slowing them down there and really playing our assignment. If we can play mistake-free football, I think we can slow them down. But, my hat is off to Coach Rodriguez and his kids. Those guys play really hard, and they play really well. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Here we're going to talk about, last week's game of the week. Battle of the Woods. Brentwood 25, Ravenwood 14. What a game it was. Brentwood needed, I think they got 4 field goals from Thomas Day. That's Tucker Day's younger brother. Of course, Tucker kicked there at Brentwood, now at Mississippi State. Kate Grasnow, I made a comment the other day. He's just a winner at quarterback. I mean, he just finds ways to win. He guts it out. Had over 270 yards passing. One big touchdown pass to Austin Spradlin, and a big rushing touchdown that really sealed the win for them. Where does Ravenwood go from here? Of course, they were our number 1 team in the mid-state. A lot of star power on that team. They're off this week. I think this is a good week for them to get back to basics. I think they need to get that hunger back. I think there have been times, seeing them a couple of times when they just, they had ability to take over a game, and they just haven't done that. There's a lot of talent on that team. I think you've probably seen them over the summer. There's so much Division I talent. They just need to start playing more collectively together and just work more on where they should be dominating some areas of the game. What you got?
And they're pretty fast.
Yes.
This summer I had an opportunity to observe them. They are fast. They move fast. So I think they'll do a great job of rebounding this year.
I would think probably for Coach Matt Daniels, the bye or the open week came at the perfect time for them. coming off a loss, this is a chance to really go back and work some things out, before they get into next week's game week. It is mid-season report, and this is, I guess, my way of my teaser for the mid-season report. We'll have a big, huge thing in Friday's paper and online Thursday, but I'm going to give you 3 hot takes. Here are 3 hot takes, and I got 2 more that will be online in print, but and those 2 are probably hotter than the 3 I'm going to give you. But here are my 3 hot takes from watching the first half of the season. I guess you can call these our bold predictions. First one, I guess it's a no-brainer. Even despite a loss, I still see Brentwood Academy winning their 5th straight Division II state title in D2's largest classification. They lost to McCallie a couple weeks ago. Of course, they did that a year ago. I think this team's good enough with Devin Curtis at linebacker. I mean, he's having a great season for him. The Jordan James kid, I think he'll get on track and get going better. Their passing game, I think, is better than a year ago. I know Wade Williams been banged up a little bit a couple weeks ago, but I think they'll be fine. Rutherford County, and sorry, I do have ties there. I'm saying right now they will get 6 of the 32 teams in the Class 6A playoffs. That Oakland, Blackman, Riverdale, not necessarily in that order. That's in 3-6A, and I think they will get all 3 of their teams in 5-6A, Laverne, Smyrna, Stewart's Creek. All right, now here's where it gets hot. Here's where I may not be able to answer the phone. I think out of those 6, come state quarterfinal time, there will be 1 team left. Oakland. Oakland will be the only team left in the quarterfinals. That's my bold prediction. And then finally, one last hot take in 5A. I believe Gallatin will meet Henry County in the 5A semifinals.
Hey, I think you might be on to something.
They're playing well. I mean, Beach is still in the way. I think Hillsboro's still in the way. But Gallatin, with Coach what Coach Watson has done there, really been impressed with what he's been able to do the first half of the season.
He does a great job wherever he goes.
Yeah.
My head is off the coach.
Yeah. He really looked good in their jamboree against Oakland, and Oakland of course played a lot of players, but they started the game with their main players, and they were able to score. They're the only team in the preseason that scored on Oakland.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's to be commended.
And I asked Coach Kreager, because there's some family relation with his wife and them. He said we did not. That was not a gimme score. We do not do that. That was a legit score. So game of the week. We're going to talk about game of the week. East Nashville at BGA. We've talked about it in the past. The question I have is, can you beat Nick Seppenfelder? Can you keep him under 100 yards, or can he get 250 yards and can you still win? That's to me that's the big storyline. Right. What can you do to can they get back on track? Because I think they have to throw the ball to be successful. The way their offense is set up, can you stop that? My pick, I'm going to pick East Nashville 20, BGA 17. And Coach, just so you know, there have been games where I have not picked our guest. So this it isn't because you're sitting it isn't because you're sitting 6 inches from me.
Don't feel like you got to
yeah, no way. So another game, Ensworth 4-1 at NBA 2-3. 2 of the top teams in Division II history-wise. NBA's had some tough luck. Here's a guy, Marcel Reed. Took over. Last week was his first start at quarterback. I think he came in the week before. He came in during that game. Over 200 yards passing in their upset win over MUS. Marcel is Rod Reed, the coach at TSU. That's his son. Oh, wow. So that's going to be interesting to see how they evolve with him at quarterback. What that means for their offense. Of course, I saw in week 1. They couldn't score against Brentwood. It just they had a couple field goals. That's going to be an interesting game. Of course, Ensworth's coming off their first loss of the season. They got a lot of speed. I think you've seen them.
Yeah, I will tell you this: Ensworth is very dangerous. I know they got their loss, but they are very dangerous. Keyshawn Lawrence,
yep.
He's to be commended, but they've got a little running back over there. Tulio,
Tuleo, or the bowling ball they call him.
Man, that guy, man,
Yeah,
he runs
yeah,
hard, Coach.
yeah.
He runs hard. So
Hmm.
my head is off to him. Rock, do your thing, man. They're doing a great job this year.
And I like the Turrentine kid, Andre Turrentine.
Oh, right,
He's
right.
got some speed. The line is, they've got the line that can do stuff. But anyway, I'm picking in. Let's go Innsworth 21, NBA 14. Big rivalry game. Probably not as big a. It's still a big rivalry, but with Ricky Bowers no longer the football coach there, it's kind of a little bit different, I think.
Right. But I might be even more bold in my prediction. I'll say 28-14.
Woo! There you go.
Innsworth is explosive.
Okay. Blackman at Riverdale. They call this the backyard brawl. It's a great rivalry game. Hasn't been much of a rivalry game here lately. Blackman's won 8 straight contests. I think that includes 1 postseason game. Last win was Riverdale last won in 2011 when Riverdale actually won in the regular season and postseason that season. Riverdale's got a really good running back in Drew Smith, 588 rushing yards. Taylor Yancey at quarterback, great season so far. He took a week off. He was sick, so Jamison Holcomb, Kelly Holcomb's son, had a great game against Rockville. I would think Taylor's back this week in what should be one of the best games in the Nashville area. I like Blackman 21-14. I've wavered back and forth on this one. At one point, I had Riverdale win, kind of waver back and forth. I think this might be as big a coin flip game as you can get. Blackman's defense has been really, really good. Their offense hasn't produced what they have in previous years, so that's the hang up there. Riverdale, that loss to Smyrna has got me questioning on a little bit. I know that's 2 games ago, but that's the question there I have.
I don't count Riverdale out.
No.
I think those guys they'll rebound. Coach K has those guys. He'll have them ready. They've got some pretty good talent up front. I think they've got some pretty good talent at the skill position. So if they get Yancey back, I think it could be a better game than most would predict. Blackman is pretty tough, though. I saw them play Alcoa first game of the year, and they play pretty tough. But I don't count out Riverdale.
I like the Nelson kid for Riverdale. He's got 5 or 6 sacks already. Blackman's gonna have to key on him, try to keep him from getting in the backfield with Drew Beam there. CPA 1-4, but that was a big win last week at Brentwood 4-1. Of course, Brentwood coming off our game of the week win over Ravenwood. Wow, what a game! I think this could go. It's one of those deals where I look at it and say, is CPA now grown up? Because they've played probably the roughest first half schedule as anyone in Middle Tennessee. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think there's anyone out there can say,
Absolutely. But this is one thing I know about Coach Martin and his staff. They're resilient. They're gonna fight, and to watch them on film, play BGA last week. Man, my hat is off to those guys. Man, those kids really responded, and they played a physical brand of football. So don't count them out. I mean, they had a tough go, but hey, they're going to be pretty tough against Brentwood. Now, Brentwood's going to bring in some talent now.
And Brentwood, I mean, coming off a big win, they can't look at this as a trap game. I know they're getting close to there by another week or 2. This is a big test, I think, for both. I like the Granzel kid, though. I go back to him. He's got 870 yards, 871 yards passing, 8 touchdowns. Here's the thing. Sophomore linebacker Langston Patterson. Kane Patterson's younger brother, leading tackler for them. I think he's got 54 tackles. I like Brentwood 21-16. I think it could be a close game. We'll see what happens.
That's probably close. But I'm going to count on my Lions. Come on, Lions. Y'all come through for me.
Okay. Spencer Briggs, probably one of the most dynamic players in the first half of the season at Gallatin. If he can stay healthy, and he's done a great job of staying healthy so far, I think Gallatin can go a long way, as we said previously. They showed off the Briscoe kid, had over 200 yards passing last week against Hillwood on homecoming. Wilson Central, first loss of the season last week. Maybe a little conservative here. Could be a little more widespread here, but I'm saying Gallatin 35, Wilson Central 14.
I think you might be correct there. I look for that Briggs kid to be a Mr. Football.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's over 1,000 yards rushing through 5 games. That's over 200 yards a game, folks. That's pretty special if you can get 2,000 yards in a regular season.
Man,
Yeah. So he's halfway there. It's gonna get tougher for them. They've got Beach left on the horizon, and they believe they got Hendersonville coming up too. So it's gonna get tougher before 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 it ends. Beach 5-0 at Lebanon 3-2. Beach has got some. They played Henry County already. They've got some tough ones coming up. They haven't. I don't believe they played Hillsboro yet. They haven't played Gallatin. So they got some tough games coming up. But this is an interesting, old school Beach Lebanon type game. I like the Parks kid. I think you know him too. He's 456 yards rushing so far in 5 games. Didn't do too much last week against Hunters Lane. Got 13 touches, a little over 100 yards, and I think they kind of shut him down because it was a route.
Right.
What do you like about the Parks kid?
Man, he runs tough. He runs really hard. He gets behind his pass. He has a little bit of upright runs, but once he gets back, gets out in open field, man, he's tough to bring down. He runs with the passion and the fury, and he gets after it a little bit. Yeah.
And then they have the other kid, I think the Jefferson kid there, Tyshawn, I think maybe. I think he's still with them too. So they got some good running backs. I mean, Anthony Crabtree's always going to have running backs.
Right.
I mean, I can't remember a time when he hasn't had at least 1 or 2 good running backs. I mean, even before Jalen Hurd, he had running backs. I like Beach 28-27. I think that was a game where I'm looking at, Lebanon beat Hendersonville by a point.
Right.
Beach beat Hendersonville by a point. So from a matchup issue, could be an interesting matchup.
But I'll tell you this: you can never look at the scores and
I know.
that game.
I know.
I'll tell you that. I like Lebanon. I'm not gonna necessarily say they'll win it, but I think Coach Gentry will have those guys ready to play. Man, they've got some pretty good guys up front. They do some things defensively that will present some problems and challenges for Beach. But I like for Lebanon to step up and at least make it close. I think you got a good prediction there. Yeah.
Columbia 4-1 at Nolensville 4-0. Columbia kind of out of the blue 4-1, off to a great start there. But this Nolensville team, they got Tim Kutris, grandson of Coach Kutris over at Overton, Nick Kutris' grandson, and Tim's committed to Liberty, two-way player. 4 interceptions already this year. Leading receiver from he's Ryder Gallardi's best target there. I like the Kutris kid. There's not a lot of kids that can really excel both ways. Of playing, really good receiver, really good defensive back. He does that very well. Columbia's got a kid, Keelan Littlejohn, had a big night last week against Lincoln County. 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. I like Nolensville 34-21 over Columbia. Nolensville schedule could have been a little bit tougher, I thought. They still got a couple games. There's a meeting, I believe, with Marshall County at some point down the road at Marshall County this year. But I think Nolensville is still doing what they need to do. Speaking of Marshall County 4-1 at Springfield 4-1. This is an interesting game of both teams. 4A, one will go. Marshall County go east. Springfield go west. Springfield's not the same team they've been, without Fat Cat there and Brian Hayes at quarterback. I mean, they had a special combo the last couple of years. I like this Marshall County team with coach there. I mean, he's doing a great job at Marshall County. Bryson Hammonds, 821 yards, 7 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. And I believe he's only a sophomore.
Oh, wow.
So that's a interesting matchup there. I like Marshall County 28-14. Maybe that might be a little conservative.
Yeah, that might be, especially looking at those numbers. That kid is on fire.
Yeah.
Springfield, they'll bring an attitude. They'll bring a little nastiness.
And it's at Springfield too, so that helps because that's a long trip from Lewisburg. That's a long trip.
Oh, absolutely.
So 2 more games to talk about, then we'll be done. Livingston Academy 5-0 at Smith County 3-1. Kind of going up in that Upper Cumberland area. I like what first-year coach Scott Murray has done with Smith County. Off to a great start. A lot of that is Cameron Spivey, 603 passing yards through the first part of the season. But Will McDonald from Livingston in 5 games, 1,142 yards. That might lead the Nashville area after Nick's tough game with BGA. So, I mean, those two are probably 1 and 2, I'm guessing. I haven't looked at the stat leaders yet. He's also got 14 touchdowns. I like Livingston 35-14. Livingston is in a good situation where I think they could make it to the potential quarterfinals. I think.
Hey, that's not a bad prediction.
Yeah.
Livingston always plays pretty tough in that area. So 5-0, you said. I mean,
they're 5-0. Yeah. With a big win over rival Upperman, and they've already beaten Cookeville this year in a tight one.
They're gonna be pretty good. That may be another bold prediction down
Yeah.
the road. Yeah.
So last game, Hillsboro 3-2 versus Pearl Cone 5-0. That game will be played 3 p.m. Saturday at Tennessee State. Of course, everyone knows Hillsboro does not have a football field right now. It's being renovated. The school's being renovated. And I think last time I talked to Coach Fitzgerald, it might be another. I thought next season they would get it, and it may be a season after that before their football stadium is done, which is not a pleasant thing if I'm a football coach. And not, I mean, you've lived that, you know.
Yeah, so I definitely understand. Yeah, but
Pearl Cone 5-0 for the first time in a very, 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 very long time. I couldn't even see when the last time they started 5-0. Of course, they played NBA a lot of times early in the season, and this year is the first time they beat NBA under Pearl Cone. But basically they had an extra open week with Republic deciding to forfeit. I like I thought they might struggle some this season after Shepard graduated at quarterback.
Right.
Martino Owens.
Yes.
I think I call him
Bino.
Bino has done a lot to impress me. He's very accurate. I like Shepard, but I like Bino more than I liked Xavier Shepard. And Shepard was there for about 3 years starter, I think.
Right.
So he's been there forever. I like what he's done there. They've got 2 great receivers in Cedric Watson and Barry Brown. And then, of course, with Hillsboro, you got to stop Brian Covington. If you stop Covington, you're in good shape. But, wow, what do you think of that game?
Man, that's going to be a pretty good game.
Will you go to that game?
No, I won't go. I honor the process. I'll stay at home.
Okay. Well, he's probably coming to your place. He's probably going to BGA.
He probably came to our game last week.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, I think you're spot on with Martino.
Yeah.
The kid plays great, man. He's got so much touch. So my hat is off to that kid. They've got a receiving core that is unmatched this year.
Yeah, that duo is pretty good.
And there's a reason why they're 5-0.
Yeah.
They played those private schools in the past, and they haven't been able to get over that hump.
Yeah.
But this year they were able to do so. So that speaks volumes of that team.
Well, interesting thing too to see this year where Pearl is playing. They've already beaten Cane Ridge. Of course, that was before the quarterback. The quarterback was out then for Cane Ridge. It was out with a knee injury. Now they're playing Hillsboro. I mean, they're playing, and of course they got you. I think they played Maplewood. They're playing all the top Metro teams, which we should see that. I think this is my soapbox. We should see the top Metro teams playing each other, I think, every year.
I agree.
Well, good. We got him on the record.
I agree. It's tough getting games.
Yeah. Yep.
Poor Maplewood. I'll just speak for Coach Broom right
Yeah.
now. He's had trouble filling his schedule just about every year.
Yeah.
And teams choose not to play for various reasons. But I'll say this: we all own a little bit of responsibility to make sure that if we playing an opponent that we know is not as talented, take care of your brethren.
Yeah.
You have to take care of your brothers there. But I do feel like the top team should play. You're right.
I have Pearl Cone 42-21.
Oh wow.
I like Pearl Cone. I've got him number 3 in my mid-state poll. That's bold too, isn't it?
It's very bold. I think Hillsboro's going to come out.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're kind of the last couple of years been a slow starter.
Right.
I think they'll kind of start a little slow, then they kind of get going.
Hillsboro is big up front, though.
Yeah.
So I think if they get the leaning on Pearl a little bit, that could be the difference in the game. And at 42, I don't know about 42, but
told you I like Martino.
Yeah. Cover them, Hillsboro. Cover those guys up.
All right, folks. Week 6 has arrived. We are halfway home until the playoffs. I want to thank Coach Brian Waite East Nashville. Appreciate him coming over and stopping by the Bootleg presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. This has been Tom Kreager. We'll see you next week.